So let's just pull this up here real quick. Ooh, the color doesn't even look like Miami blue on here. Well, where do we start? For the people that have been following this channel, you all know that content has dropped significantly. Yeah, we messed up. But today we're not going to talk about that. Of course, we're going to touch on the cars to see where we're at and give you a little update as to why we haven't been uploading videos. But before we get to that, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, I'm sorry, didn't push out any videos. But we're going to start again soon. There's a lot of videos that have been filmed, just not edited. So, and I'll show you a quick update of the Porsche project in just a few seconds. But now, I want to address a little something. I was in the garage and I was working, and then I seen a notification that V's for Build uploaded a new video, which I follow Chris, I've been following him for a long time, and I seen the thumbnail and I was like, R34, red, strange, USA car. I was like, I gotta look at that video. And I seen that video. Yeah, that's my old car. So this build was done back in 2014 when I really thought I could attempt a big project, but didn't have the skills. Of course, the way the car looks now, it looks in rough shape. That was not how it looked way back in the day. The hole in the floor, etc., that wasn't there. The car was running, driving, etc. at one point, and I'll share a few pictures here, there of the car. So initially this was back in 2014. At that time, the only projects that I really had done were on the Civics, putting turbo Civics, little mostly body modifications just for the look, and the suspension, wheels, that was about it. A few turbo setups, and yeah. Then I had picked up at that time it was an S2000, turbo the S2000, and did an LS swap. But the LS swap wasn't really a complex thing. I had bought a kit that was just basically a plug and play, right? The mounts were included, all that stuff. And that was the extent of my fabrication abilities at that point. So that is why when you look at the car, it is, I'll be honest with you, it is shitty. As far as the welds on it, I only had a Lincoln 110 volt. It was at the beginning of my my time working on cars, so don't judge that by what compared to what we do today, but it shows you a little bit of the past. So back in 2014, I got the urge to buy an R34 Skyline. At the time, I had an MK4 Supra with a 2JZ, T88 ready turbo, etc. But that's not the car I wanted. I wanted another Skyline. When I say another Skyline, why another Skyline? Because at that time I had owned an R32 Skyline and an R33, so R34 was just the next step up, right? So that's why I really wanted an R34. I can get into the details on if you guys are interested on how I found the car, etc. Interesting story, but I won't bore you to death with that. Same thing with the story of the car. I'm not going to give too much information. If Chris wants to contact me, we can go one-on-one. I can explain to him a little bit more about the car and give him more history, more information, right? And I still have a special part for that car that's really rare, and I actually have it here. I haven't thrown it out, so if he wants it, he can get a hold of me and we can discuss how I can send it out, etc. But yeah. So I bought that. I drove it with it was a GTT, made it look like a GTR, right? I put the GTR wing later on, but when I got it, initially it had the Rb25DETT, and yeah, I drove it like that for a little bit, did a bunch of burnouts, burned some tires. It was automatic at that time, which sucked. And yeah, everything worked well. Then I went for a trip up north, and the alternator let go. So what do you do when an alternator lets go? That's when you decide, I'll LS swap this. So again, fabrication skills, etc. at that time, they weren't too good. but I wanted to attempt it anyways. So that's what I did. Got home, had it towed. My buddy Jean, who's on this channel as well, he's the one that towed it home. I'm pretty sure I still have some pictures of it at that time. Towed it home, pulled the engine out, and bought an LS. So I bought a 5.3 liter, and I wanted it standard, so I bought a 370Z transmission, Collins adapter, Collins clutch. So that made the engine and trans setup. But I didn't want to leave it there. I've owned a bunch of right-hand drive cars over the years, because in Canada, it's easy to get right-hand drive cars. In the US, not so much. But yeah, so at that point, I didn't like grinding gears. I'm not good shifting with my left hand. Never been good with it. Probably never will be. So I decided to switch it to left-hand drive. That was a big undertaking anyways. So the only thing I did at that time is I cut this side of the firewall, that side of the firewall, flipped them, and that was my firewall. The welds, well, they weren't great. 110 volt welder, then just covered up in seam steel and grinded it up a little bit, and that was it. And then I just switched everything around. That's essentially what I did. The steering rack, I think, was from a 240SX. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember. The dash was from a NISSAN Maxima that I had to cut the sides and rebuild the sides to make it shorter. The door cards were still the factory, so you could, on the right-hand side, you could bring down both windows, while on the driver's side now, the new driver's side, you could only roll down this window. It was just basic. Stock seats, stock everything on the inside. Interior was complete. Stock steering wheel, stock steering rack. So everything was golden with that. As far as the steering rack setup, not the steering rack, but the actual steering column, the mounts and stuff, well, they were jimmy rigged pretty well with that welder. But it held. At that time, I was like, if it holds, I'm good. There's a dash going on top of it anyways. So yeah, that's the story behind the car. I ended up putting an Eaton M122 supercharger off of a Ford Mustang. My buddy Jean, which is also on this channel, he's the one that made the adapter plate to put the Eaton supercharger on the LS. Used a Mega Squirt Gold ECU, which at that time was fairly new, so there's still some bugs on it. Finished a car just in time for a local car show here, and I parked it next to my S2000, which had the LS swap, which I had sold to a friend at that time. Yeah, so I went to the car show, had some problems with the clutch. The clutch pedal was shitty workmanship at the clutch pedal, and it bent the rod, so I was able to drive it out, but basically started in gear and I drove it out after being pushed a little bit. Got home, fixed that, did a bunch of burnouts, sold the supercharger off of it, blew the engine, which I can tell you, that's another interesting story that we'll leave at that. And then ultimately sold the car to somebody, and then somebody sold it to somebody else sold it to somebody, and now it looks like crap. It looked really good at the time that I got it, and then now it looks like crap. But I can explain a few more things in detail if Chris wants to get a hold of me and get more details on the car, I just did a quick summary on it. But yeah, so that's the story with the V is for Build R34. And now, let's just go around and show you. Also, by the way, we're in the paint booth, and you can see that the floor is a little bit of Miami blue, because that's the color I went with the car. So right now it's under a wrap. Just basically, as you can see, the shop is all dirty, but I'm working on a Grand National. So let's just pull this up here real quick. Ooh, the color doesn't even look like Miami blue on here. But yeah, so this was painted in that booth. Looks awesome. I ended up painting the wheels gold. And yeah, so it's a Rocket Bunny wide body. And it's LS swapped. So right now, as you can tell, the interior is all in pieces because the car was fully disassembled. The body was painted in one piece, and every single other piece was painted separately. That way, like inside the doors, it's basically seamless, the whole thing. So yeah, So that's where we're at this. I do have videos and stuff that's not edited showing the rest of the build and putting the wide body on and all that stuff. But guess what? I haven't edited anything yet. And then did some custom modifications to the bumper. Typically there's the lights here, but they're non-existent on this one, and we'll explain more once I have the cover off. So yeah, that's what we've been doing. I've been playing with this. Jean has been busy with another project that he's working on, which is not car related, it's business related. So the Cobra is all primered, all pretty much ready for paint, but there's still a lot of work left on that. The Ford truck, again, still a lot of work left on that because Jean's busy planning up for something bigger, and I'll let him discuss that if he wants to. So yeah, that was my video for today. Just quick, simple, just introduction to the new people. If they want to see more stuff like this, or like the Grand National, or I've got the NASCAR truck outside, then yeah, subscribe to this channel and give us a like, and we'll show you way better quality builds than the R34 from back in 2014. Until next time, peace.